Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the 2025 season for college football. I am your rankings host, Peyton Soysher, on rankingsrightnow.com. We have a bunch to unpack, a lot of really fun games for the opening week. We had a bunch of top 10 matchups. With all of the games that have finally finished, where do we see the rankings looking like for week 2? Yeah, it's way too early. Yeah, we don't care. We're going to go check them out anyways. Let's have some fun and play around with rankingsrightnow.com. Here we are on the Rankings Right Now website. First and foremost, we have a great sponsor, Phantom Odds. Phantom Odds is a way to do odds matching with your fantasy football teams. We have the NFL season starting this week. Go ahead and go to rankingsrightnow.com, click on the Phantom Odds website, and you get to see that it connects to ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper. You can see all of your different matchups, points, spread, money line, over, under. We have different things that can offer, including a phantom bank, which is a way for everyone to do a little bit of side action, as well as regular pick'em. It's just a new way of doing fantasy football and enhancing the league experience for everybody. Go check it out. It's super cool. It's super fun. But let's get to what we want to play around with right now, which is Rankings Right Now. And here we are for the projected AP poll week 2 that's going to come out, right? Up top, really no surprise, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia. Ohio State beats Texas in a awesome matchup. Maybe not everything that we expected out of Arch Manning there, but a really good, high-quality defensive game. They win 14-7. Penn State stays there at number 2 after just really obliterating Nevada. Georgia had no problem with Marshall. LSU and Clemson, another one of those top 10 matchups that had really big rankings implications. With that win, LSU's projected to move up to number 5, while Clemson is projected to move down all the way to 11. I can see them being in that 9 to 11 range. This algorithm is trained on historical AP voting data. So it's doing its best to try and understand those patterns and see where things move from week to week. Early in the year, we have a lot of big changes. If you remember last year, LSU had a bad opening week 1 loss. They played Clemson. Clemson had a big week opening 1 loss, and they dropped all the way down, I think, to number 25, maybe even 26 in the AP poll, right? And they were sitting in that 15 range. They had a huge drop. So a lot of big movements early in the year. So just keep an eye out for that on where these things might land. Just as an example, Texas is projected to move down to number 7, according to the algorithm, and Miami is projected to move up to number 6. I could see a flip-flop there, maybe even Texas being up at 5, just because of the early season game, and it's against such a tough opponent in Ohio State. But I think maybe that some of those AP voters might really be a little bit on the fence after what they saw Texas's slow moving offense. It's kind of hard to get a really good grasp of, is that such a great Ohio State defense, or is that a really lackluster Texas offense that we were seeing? So one of those two things could be true. Maybe they're both, maybe they're not. I don't know. But we'll see as the season goes along. Another big shocker that happened in the opening week. Alabama gets smoked by Florida State. Florida State had everyone confused at the beginning of last year, and they played so terribly throughout the year that I think a lot of people just really did not think that this was going to be a game. It wasn't a game on most people's radars just because of how much Florida State struggled last year. Alabama comes out flat. According to the algorithm, Alabama drops 16 spots down to the edge of the top 25. Is that too much of an overcorrection? I think so. I think that just my gut feeling is I would expect Alabama maybe to be into that 16 to 18 range. That seems a little bit more realistic to me. But who knows? Maybe if really Florida State struggled so bad last year, did they do the most amazing 180 turnaround? Or did they do something to really show that Alabama is not who we thought they were? And Alabama got off to such a terrible start that maybe they shouldn't even be in the top 15. Maybe they shouldn't be in the top 20. We'll see how the AP voters really react tomorrow. But that was not one of these weird, weird games where you can make up excuses. They just really flat out lost. So I'm really interested to see where Alabama truly lies. Speaking of Florida State having such a terrible season, or terrible start to last season, Kansas State went through the same exact thing going all the way to Ireland and now lost their first game in Ireland to a team that, a high-quality Iowa State team. It's not like they were unranked, but they almost completely blew it on their second game against North Dakota, right? That last 3 points for the win right there completely saved them. If they don't have that, we're most likely looking for another situation where you had a AP top 25 in week 1 and completely out in week 2. So check out for where Kansas State's going to be ranked. I think 23 is a much more realistic number than 16, but that's where we're sitting at right now. The other thing with the algorithm that really struggles is we don't really know who's outside of the AP top 25. We need to make a couple adjustments to the algorithm to take in the other teams who are still receiving votes. But for the most part, I don't know if UNLV is really going to grab that 25 seed. I think Utah or BYU is going to grab that 25 seed. Everyone else seems to have stayed within the AP top 25. I'd be interested if Kansas State truly drops out of the AP top 25, but I think Alabama's going to stay in there. Boise, for sure, just got absolutely rammed by South Florida, right? 34-7. It wasn't even close. Boise had a great year last year. They had Genty as their running back. I think that now that he's gone, that changed up a bunch. I think a lot of the people who had such a great successful season have moved on from that team. So I think that's maybe even a rebuilding season for them. So maybe they're not top 25. Maybe South Florida just really is that good. But let's also play around with the what if simulation tool, specifically at the final game of the night, which was Notre Dame and Miami. Awesome way to finish the week 1 ranked teams going at it. But if we play around with the what if simulation tool, and we would have just said that Notre Dame would have come down the stretch and finished it off with a touchdown. You can do a Hail Mary, you can think of whatever you want, but let's say they would have won that game 30-27. How would things have changed? Well, if we look at how the AP top 25 algorithm would have shifted, we're looking at let's find Notre Dame up to number 3 and Miami dropping all the way to 17. I don't think that, once again, I think that's a little bit of an overcorrection, similar with what Alabama went through, but maybe Miami even stays at 10 just because that was such a great game. But maybe Miami was going to drop all the way down to that 13-17 range, it looks like about. And Notre Dame, I could definitely see after playing that well and Oregon and Georgia really having no competition, moving up to that 3 spot. So that's how big of a drastic change that this can be. Notre Dame goes from potentially number 3 if they win that game, now looking at a 14 seed, dropping all the way down 8 spots. Once again, could it be in that 11-10 area? Potentially, but we'll see tomorrow how everything comes out. This is the fun of the algorithm. We're retraining it all the time. We're trying to come up with as many enhancements as possible to come up with the most accurate model that we possibly can. The very beginning of the season is always the toughest, but we don't skip out on anything over here. We want to try and make it as fun as possible. We want to make it as much entertainment for you, the college football fan, as possible. Please go to rankingsrightnow.com. You can go ahead and create a login. You can pick your favorite teams, so they're right up there at the top. You can also play around with the what if simulation tool. Go check out Phantom Odds, getting ready for the NFL season as well. It's all fun. It's going to be a great season. Thank you for sticking with us, and we'll go ahead and see you every week for this college football season.